Illinois Stories is brought to you by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by the support of viewers like you. Thank you.
Hello, welcome to Illinois Stories. I'm Mark McDonald, just outside of Lincoln in Logan County. And if you look behind me, you might think that I'm mistaken. This is indeed Logan County, and I'm willing to wager this is one of the few country manors in all of central Illinois. And we're going to take a look at this beautiful mansion, as well as talk to the owners and talk about some of the significant history that was produced in and around this country manor. But Bob, Neal, it's a fascinating story about how you and your wife came to own this piece of property, what condition it was in when you found it, and the fact that it's now available again, you know,
yeah, how about that?
And the wonderful Scully family that built it and formed much of this area.
Right.
Wow. What possessed you to want a place like this?
Well, a little bit of insanity. The movie Money Pit was just on the rack when we bought it, so we refer to it affectionately as Money Pit 1. The Scully family calls it Kickapoo. 1992, and I was out playing golf in a cold March day, and I ran into a couple of buddies of mine who were bankers, and they were talking about the day that they had loaned money on the house and they were going to get it back. And I said, wait a minute, you're talking about Violet Scully's house out west and north of town? And one of them said, that's the one, Bob. And so I had to take a look.
Wow. Well, we're going to get a chance to look inside.
Yeah.
You and your wife, Lynn, have moved your personal items out because you bought another place. So
that's right.
When we see it, we're going to see it like just as it is.
Pretty much.
Bare bones, right?
It looks like a post office inside now.
It's just terrific, though. I mean, describe some of what they were trying to accomplish when they built this house.
Well, Mrs. Scully had drawn some etching or sketches of what she thought it should be, and she was English, and the Scully family was living, the way the story goes, in France at the time, and the Germans were invading France, so they moved to America, and they had a huge farm here in America and decided they would build a colonial cottage here to have the family home on. So this is their version of a colonial cottage. Being European, I guess they liked the stone. It looked like their home in France from that aspect. And the house has a large drawing room on the west end, and then a wonderful great hall that's 25 by 25 in the center of the house. And like a lot of colonials, it goes right through to the south side of the house, which faces the Kickapoo Creek Valley. And Mrs. Scully, and the stories I've heard, thought that the house should face the valley, so she had the architects from Champaign spin the house around and put a new front on this side, so this would be kind of the off view of the house.
This is what the back of the house looks like, even though this is where you drive up.
Yeah, I mean, the servants' entrance was over on the east side. Those four little bedroom windows up there are where the cook and the maid stayed. And then there's 3-car garage and a workshop buried underneath the cook's bedroom. And
you've lived here for 20 years, raised your family here?
Raised.
And it was a great family home.
Perfect family. Well, we had no idea what it would be because it was, there was stuff everywhere. The previous owner who came in and bought the house, so here's the Scullys lived here from 41 till 76. In 76, Mrs. Scully passed away in Europe, and the house came up for sale. The American Humane Society somehow got their hands on it, and that's a different story for another half an hour. They owned it for 5 or 6 years, didn't like living in Logan County, so the director of the Humane Society headed back for Denver, left the house, sold it to a private couple who took the house apart because of, as you'll see inside, some things had frozen in the attic and water pretty much went through the house for a couple of months and ruined lots of stuff. So this couple came in and dismantled a lot of the features of the inside of the house, left them in boxes and barrels, took all the paint off the outside, and then they decided they didn't like this project and headed for Missouri with the bank's money, apparently. They were nice people. We had known them before. They had done some things that really were good for the house, and they were good enough to give us access to the house while we were negotiating with the bank to buy it.
I see.
And that's kind of the litany of how it started.
We mentioned the fact that she had turned the house around so the front of the house faces the Creek Valley. So let's make our next stop over there, huh? Okay, talk about a drastic makeover. This is what, Bob, your house looked like when you and Lynn found it and bought it. And we're standing in the backyard now. And just take a gander at that baby now. Wow.
So Mark, that was 1992.
Uh-huh.
Lynn was teaching at the junior high here in town. She brought two of her huskiest junior high lads out, and we just set them to the chore of moving all the debris that was in the back of the house and hanging off of the roof and whatnot out to the east side, and we kind of had a big burning party out there. And then we just we had to start somewhere, so we started with taking the siding that was no good off and repairing it. And I'm no good at carpentry, so I was smart enough to do the destruction work myself, and then I hired professionals to put the features back on the right way. We had to take the window panes out of the dining room window and reglaze 45 new window panes into the window, because the radiator above the dining room had burst during the freezing of the house during the Humane Society period, and the water had gone down through the window mullions and caused them to expand and contract and broke all the windows.
These formal gardens, you know, Mrs. Scully, I think you said she was English and her husband was Irish, so they had some disagreement, but she got her way on the formal gardens.
That's what I've heard. I'm sure he enjoyed the gardens because they were beautiful. She had boxwood garden settings all across the top of that terrace with her tea roses within. And when we got here, the boxwoods were way out of shape. They were 3.5, 4 feet tall. So I took a chainsaw and mowed them off with the hope that they'd come back, and they did. And now they're almost too big again. Wow. I'm not a gardener, so I call it guerrilla gardening. We went out and bought as much garden product as we could afford and put it in the ground. If it died, I ripped it out and put more product in until it finally started to grow. And my goal was to make the place look as close to it as it was during the 40s, 50s, and 60s when the Scullys enjoyed the place, because that was truly its heyday, and when Mrs. Scully was quite a gardener, philanthropist, and a great community citizen.
That gives us a chance to take a look at this here. Now, this is a great progression of the property here. You said the 60s. This is when the Scullys lived here, and it was in wonderful condition in 1962. And then 30 years later, 1992, the way you found it, and then, of course, this is after you did your work in 1998, brought it back to life, and it looks just as good as it did in '62. Congratulations! Wow.
Well, it was a pretty tough house for anybody to do too much damage to. The house is made of concrete decks on the first and second floor rather than floor joists and sheeting, and so the walls are stone, and so it's just a wonderfully built house. When Mr. Scully built it, he expected it to be here for the ages, I'm sure. And I don't know if I can throw this in. The house was designed by an architect in Champaign, built by the same contractors that built Memorial Stadium over at the University of Illinois, the English brothers contractors. And
they built things to last, didn't they?
They did, but they didn't build to Tom Scully's specifications, so he fired them. Sued him for the bond that they'd put up, a $100,000 bond, got the bond and finished the house himself. And a lawyer in town, a guy named Tom Harris, whose dad litigated the deal, found the blueprints about 3 months ago in his file when he was cleaning the office out, because Tom himself is now an 80-something-year-old lawyer and retiring. He said, "Bob, I've got something you need to see. I've been looking for blueprints since the day we bought the place, so here it is, the summer of our 20th year, and I find the blueprints finally."
And we get a chance to look at them, right?
Yeah, you can look
Terrific.
at them.
Let's go in.
All right.
Well, it is quite an effect when you walk in the front door and you walk into I guess this is called the entry hall, Bob, but it is quite an effect. That the woodwork is spectacular.
In the layout of the blueprints, it was called the Great Hall.
The Great Hall.
So Mrs. Scully would greet her guests as they came to parties and visit. And I'm sure it had a large round table with flowers in the center of it. And we've got 3 daughters, and 2 of them were married on that stairway.
Ah, perfect.
The third one's available in California.
Maybe she'll be able to come back and get married on the stairway too.
We'll have to find her a nice one.
Just above your head, look at the woodwork, look at the scroll work in that crown molding. Just fabulous. Really beautiful. paneling as far as the eye can see.
Yep.
And a nice big fireplace.
Isn't this a dandy?
How many of these do you have in the house?
There are 6 fireplaces, each with kind of a unique colonial mantle above, soapstone around, this being obviously the largest and the most fun on Christmas
I'll bet.
and any family holiday. This fireplace goes from morning to night, and I have to haul the wood in, so I take credit for it.
And when you haul wood, you haul big wood.
Yeah, we look for real logs, not that little junior split stuff. When we got the place, all the andirons had been removed, so we had to search antique stores all over trying, and Lynn went to sale after sale, found fireplace sets that fit, with the exception of this little poker we found in the attic.
Poker.
So this
was original,
Tom
huh?
Scully's poker, and I love that thing. I'd take it with me when I move if I could, but I feel like it's part of the house. So.
Yeah, it belongs here.
So
let's go into the next room. Now this is the Great Hall, and then this would have been, I guess, a parlor where you would, or a drawing room.
Drawing room.
Drawing room.
It's where the family gathered. We've got pictures of Peter and Michael Scully in their Boy Scout uniforms standing behind Thomas and Violet. And another fireplace that works great. And I'm sure every English colonial Irish house has a hidden panel. So you can, Mark, you can, when you're playing hide and seek, you lose kids for days at a time in this place.
Yeah, I'll bet Michael got lost in there many times. Oh, that's
when we moved here, our youngest was 7, so we had frequent bunking parties where kids would play all over this place and have a ball. The hardwood floors had to be removed back in the late 80s. After the Humane Society moved out, they left the house with propane in the tank, but they didn't leave enough for the winter. So after that winter, the house froze and pipes burst in the attic and flooded the house. And the couple that came in after the Humane Society is responsible for taking all the heart of oak, random length pegged hardwood floors out, and they put them in the garage, and they put the white tile down, which on concrete decks makes sense, I guess.
Yeah.
It works. We had rugs and furniture all over it, so it was a sufficient floor. But
it works, different. But you'd like to have that wood back.
Would love the wood.
Yeah.
The wood's still on the 2nd floor. So you're facing west when you look out the 4 windows there, and we call that Kim's garden because that's where Kim was supposed to be married, but the day she picked it was 25 when the guys went to play golf. So now it's just an arboretum.
Yeah. Gorgeous.
So
next stop, how about next stop, the dining room?
Let's go.
All right. Well, Lynn, I wanted you to show us the dining room because I get the feeling that you and Violet Scully probably would have been kind of compatible in your taste. Do you feel that way after having lived in her house for 20 years?
Yes, I do. Yes.
When you put your colors together for this room, what did you find?
I found that these were the exact same colors that she used when she lived here. The wallpaper was bright flowers like this, and the green trim and everything.
And it's an unusual green, too.
It's an unusual
because it really
green.
jumps out. I mean, some
Yes.
grees are subtle. This is not a
Yes.
subtle green.
No.
But it was what she liked, too.
It's what she liked,
That's
too.
cool. That's
Yes,
kind of interesting to find out,
I
isn't it?
think so, yes.
A big fireplace again.
Big fireplace,
in the dining
wood
room.
burning, yes.
Yeah. And of course, these gorgeous windows that
Yes.
that give you the look out to the. I guess that's to the north, and the pond out there. It's just gorgeous. She loved her gardens, didn't she?
Yes, she did. And all of the parkland back there, she set aside so that it would never be developed on. So all of that is Kickapoo Creek parkland.
They had you and your family had a lot of happy times in this
Yes,
room,
we did.
I'll bet.
Yes, yes, we did.
Let's
I love
go,
this room. Let's go
in here
here
because there's
okay.
a little quirky feature in here that I
Yes,
think is
there is.
interesting to show. On our way to the kitchen, I guess this is a butler's pantry in
It
here.
is, and when she entertained, everyone has told us that she would have all of her tenant farmers in for big cookouts and everything, and so she would use these sinks here, and over here, these are all original cabinets,
On
and
both
here
sides.
is a walk-in safe where all
It's
of
heavy.
Yes,
This door is
very
really heavy. I mean, that's a vault,
Yeah.
a walk-in
And
safe.
the drawers are all felt lined, which is where she kept her good silver.
Oh my goodness.
I'm sure.
Good silver and probably jewelry and
possibly
money and whatever it's valuable.
everything else,
Nobody's
yes.
breaking in here, that's for sure.
No.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay, so
And
butler's
then
pantry here.
And then this is the kitchen.
Nice and big.
Nice and
Of course,
big.
it's a big house.
Yes, it is. Oh, there's the fan came on the grill.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Yes.
Well, then let's show this as long as we're here. This is
Yes,
kind of neat.
okay.
This was a built-in feature.
Yes.
This is before, I mean, who had an indoor grill back in 1941? But they built one in.
Mrs. Scully did.
How neat
Yes.
is that?
Yes, it is.
And the kitchen is
And
laid
it
out
works.
exactly as it was. You put in new appliances.
Absolutely.
But
This was already here. We put in a new stove. We painted the cabinets, but these are all original cabinets. Yes, with wallpapered. But there again, we found pictures later that showed that she had similar wallpaper. So our taste in colors, I would say, are similar.
when you look at the house from the outside, you see this part of the house that goes on and kind of curves around that
Yes.
way. That's the I call it servants' quarters, but that
Yes.
was where they help the cook and
Yes, the
Housekeeper.
housekeeper, and maybe a gardener.
yeah.
Yes, and that I just call that the guest inn. So when the girls had company, when they come home from college, we had plenty of places for their friends to stay all night.
What a great B&B that would make,
Wouldn't
right?
they? Oh,
you got a
absolutely,
whole wing of the house.
absolutely. I've always thought, oh, if somebody wanted to do that,
Yeah.
it would be great.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Well, we made up the grand staircase up to the second floor, Bob, and two of the 4 bedrooms that are up here are off, actually 5 are off this direction. While we're here, though, you and I mentioned the flooring downstairs and the fact that it got damaged and the tile was put on top of it. All the floor looked like this at one time.
Whole house, heart of oak, pegged, random width. I found the invoice from 1940. It cost about $1,150 when it was installed.
Oh, that's incredible.
And it goes throughout, this was Peter's bedroom, Michael's bedroom, and then our older girls camped out there when they were living here with us. And our baby, our 7-year-old, wound up in the guest bedroom, which has the same floor. And then when the baby turned 13, she moved up into the 3rd floor and took over the bedroom and bath upstairs.
And there's the attic, and I wish we had time to go up there, but it's really nice up there.
Cool
It's very
attic.
nice, yeah. Let's see the really gem of this floor, though, is the master suite.
Right.
You lead me in
We're
there
in the
if you would.
gallery hall over the stairway. Then you go in the master suite.
And
And
this is terrific. TV, fireplace, you could just, a place just to chill and
Little
read.
parlor right off of the bedroom that's connected to the bedroom. And we mentioned that Mr. Tom Harris found these blueprints in his safe
yeah.
20 years after we bought the house. I needed this 20 years ago, but now I have all the working drawings if I ever want to take it apart again.
I'll be darned. And look, here's an imprint of the house, that massive house that we saw from the outside. And this was the residence for Mr. and Mrs. T.A. Scully. And these are the same architects that designed Memorial Stadium.
That's the ones.
I'll be darned.
That's,
Well,
that's
they were
the
up to the
story
job.
that Herman Dammerman, the treasurer of Logan County, told me that story. So,
Well, okay, this is part of the suite.
Yeah, and
you
as
could
you-
actually live in this chamber here
we
if
do.
you wanted to.
And then Mrs. Scully and now Lynn's dressing room.
Mrs. Scully's vanity, yeah, and dressing room, terrific.
And then you progress into the master bed.
Oh wow.
And
Oh wow.
just nice proportions for 1940. Of course, the flanking closets were there for this. They were both had deadbolt locks, so you could lock them, and hidden panels like anybody would want to have places to hide their stuff. There's a little parlor safe in there.
More storage than you can imagine.
just
in
a crazy
this
place for
Everywhere you
storage.
look, there's another closet or a hidden panel or something.
Yeah, and downstairs we had rugs, but upstairs we love these floors so much we just left them open. So
Yeah.
we still haven't moved all of our furniture out of here because we live here most of the time. We haven't moved to Elkhart yet.
And then of course you have your full bath, and
Yep.
this is very much the way the Scullys had it with the original tile.
Yep,
And I love the
1940.
feature above the bathtub because there's some little architectural features no matter where you look.
Kind of an Art Nouveau period.
Isn't that cool?
And TA was about 6'3", so when he got in that shower, he had to duck a little bit.
But a walk-in shower was a luxury.
Well,
So,
that's,
I mean,
Michael told me that Mr. Scully would make the 2 boys go to the basement and throw wood in the boiler to heat the hot water so he could actually do the shower thing. So when we got here, the poor shower had was used for paint storage.
Is that right?
And had paint all over
It
it.
had been a long time since anybody had stayed up here. Well, and again, you have your another fireplace. So you actually you can have your fire, Lynn can have her fire.
That's the way we planned it. And there are 4 bedrooms, each have a bath in this part of the house. On the east side, there are 3 more bedrooms with 1 bath where the service used to be. And then in the attic, there's a bedroom and a bath.
Wow.
So 6 fireplaces, and this is the top drawer one. So what's next, Mark?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's so big. I don't know what to see
yeah.
next. I'll tell you what we should do. We have asked one of the preeminent historians from this area,
That's right,
who has written a book about the Scullys and their influence on Logan County and actually all of Illinois.
Very much
to
so.
come by and talk to us. So we'll do a little bit on the Scullys now.
Let's go meet Mr. Beaver then.
Alrighty. Well, the Scully biographer that we just mentioned was a man named Paul Beaver, who is Professor Emeritus of History at Lincoln College, right, Paul?
That's right.
And wrote the book on the Scullys and how they acquired their land. And you probably know as much as anybody on earth about the Scullys. Let me just show your book here. Scully and William Scully and the Scully Estates of Logan County, Illinois, by Paul
I started
Beaver.
out as my master's thesis at Illinois State University and kept like Topsy, I guess, and it just grew.
And you've just kept an interest in this your whole life, haven't
Yes,
you?
yes,
Well, because you live and you love Logan County.
Right. Well, my family's been here since 1853, so we didn't get very far, did we?
No.
We didn't move very far.
This is the original fellow, William Scully. He's the one that bought you. I think you told me he at one time owned more than 200,000
Yes,
acres.
of farmland. I think there were ranches that were bigger, but he owned farmland primarily. Now, not all of it was as good as the land around us here, but he bought up to 200,000 and was considered the biggest farm owner ever at that time.
Wow.
It cost, this here, though, was his greatest gem, I think. And he had bought around 30-some thousand acres in Logan County from 1850-51 for the next 15 years. But it was a strange existence because this also is the time of Abraham Lincoln in Logan County doing law cases.
Right.
And he actually saw Lincoln at one time, according to his family, and the only thing he could remember, what he was certainly not a very handsome man. I'll clean up a little bit what he said.
Yeah.
But
Not impressed.
That's a contemporary, that's with whom he was contemporary at that time.
He was a hard man to impress, wasn't he?
Oh, well, yes.
He would go around, here's a drawing by Ostendorf. He would go around and he had this tool and he would check the, not only the fertility of the ground, but the moisture in the ground. And he could decide, he had a pretty good way of knowing whether something was going to be good farmland, didn't he?
Right. They had a lot of land in Ireland around Rockacashale and different places, and he had studied it in college. So when he came here, that little spade, which was made out of a brake shoe for a wagon, when he traveled, he got off his horse and he checked the ground. I think he was looking for ground that wasn't boggy like in Ireland nor sandy. And obviously the land that he bought up in northwest Logan County is neither one. It's a little wet in the spring, but not when you do what he did to it. And,
Yeah, and this is what he did to it. Here's a look on the left here, showing his digging a drainage ditch with a steam shovel. And you can see the finished product here. When he gets these large drainage ditches dug, it would drain an ocean. And here's a tiling crew of people that work for Scully.
And those are mostly German immigrants. That's where he got his labor force after the Civil War. He actually put advertisements in German towns. And then his first agents were men like Kenley, were German origins themselves, and they did the managing for him.
How much do you think he had to pay for an acre of ground?
I don't think, because he bought it with military land warrants, which meant that was a payment to a soldier in the Mexican War. I think he probably paid 75 cents to $1 an acre.
Goodness.
So 30,000 acres up in, out there. But that land also in 1922 was considered a marsh. This drilling was an ingenious way of doing it, or not drilling.
The draining.
Draining.
Yeah.
And of course the people were there to do it, and he owned all the land, so he asked no permission. He just went through his own land. The fact that he rented the land cash rent, The fact that he brought farmers over and told them, you build your own buildings, you own those, I own the land.
Wow.
The
He had a
fact that-
system, didn't he?
Yes, he did, and the fact that he put in early agriculture of 1/4 corn, 1/4 oats, 1/4 wheat, and 1/4 alfalfa, way, way, way ahead of
Yeah.
his contemporaries.
Let's show a couple more pictures while we're here. You know, we talked about Violet most of this program, and she looked like a sweet lady. This is a good picture of her. And also Tom, the man who, with her, built this house. They're the ones that put it together.
We considered Violet, when a group of us picked the 10 outstanding people of Logan County through our history, Violet was the easy #1 choice for the ladies.
Wow.
I think she was one of the finest women I ever knew.
Paul,
Just
thank you
wonderful.
for helping us with this
You're welcome.
program.
Welcome.
A country manor of more than 7,000 square feet on 10 acres with a fascinating history. Well, the old saying goes, they don't make them like this anymore. In this case, it's absolutely true. With another Illinois story near Lincoln, I'm Mark McDonald. Thanks for watching.
Illinois Stories is brought to you by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by the support of viewers like you. Thank you. For a DVD copy of the program you've just seen, send $19.95 to Network Knowledge, P.O. Box 6248, Springfield, Illinois 62708. Be sure to include the program name, subject, and when the program aired. You can also order with your credit card by calling 800-232-3605.